Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast. It's myself, it's Spider, it's my man Quiggs, my man Moonhead, and behind on the ones and twos, the voice of God, is Manoli Stavrakis, the KG Greek. This is brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila. I have two bottles in front of me, as always, the unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. And Cabo Wabo isn't just tequila, guys. It's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. Put that on my tombstone. And Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR, so we had a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo. If you're heading to a race this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. But we want to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals, so please enjoy that thick-cut, bold-ass taste of Cabo Wabo Tequila responsibly. So grab your buds, a bottle of Cabo Wabo for the boldest race day experience ever. You got to be 21 years or older, and you have to handle it responsibly, and you guys are going to have a good time. Thank you so much, Cabo Wabo, for your continued support. And here we go. How's everybody doing? We're back. This is post-Atlanta, first round of the playoffs. Joey Logano, congratulations to the 22 team. Congratulations to Austin Hill and his guys for the win on Saturday. How's everybody doing? Welcome back, Quiggs. What's up? What's going on?
Not much. Fantastic. Good to be back. You know, a lot happening this weekend between the golf course we were at large for the Barstool Classic and then the start of football season. But another great Atlanta race and, NASCAR playoffs this year. So I'm here. I'm fully invested.
Yeah, I can tell you that Barstool does a lot of things wrong. Like some of the stuff that we try to throw blows up in our face. But the Barstool Classic, they got down to a fucking science at this point. Would you agree with that, Spider?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you like golf, it's a no-brainer. They do like 25 events a year. Like every other week, they're in one market, probably close to wherever you're listening to this from. So I would check it out. It's a great time. It's some of the nicest golf courses. Like I think they did Pinehurst, they did Liberty National. I'm definitely neglecting a bunch of very good ones, especially because I'm more of a racing fan than I am golf. But it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah,
and I think I'm actually going to the North Carolina one next week. So I'm gonna maybe see if there's any NASCAR friends that want to come and participate.
Where is that at Pinehurst?
No, I think it's near Pinehurst. I forget the name of the course, but I think it's like an hour away from Charlotte. So it might be hard, but I'm gonna give it a shot nonetheless.
It all culminates in November with the championship in Arizona, and I think you and I will both be boots on the ground for that, Spider. Grace, You ever go to these things?
What, to the
Classics.
Oh, to the Classic? No, I've never been, but I've always wanted to go to one. Yeah, even though I'm not a golf guy. Just
I used to do a lot of
the goodie bags look great.
Goodie bags are great. The courses are great. The food at this place in Louisville was
my God,
their
top
sauce
notch.
game. Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to speak to just Moonhead with this. Their sauce game, Moonhead. They had the Alabama white barbecue sauce. I call it the old racist. They had like this avocado crema. They had all these different barbecue sauces, some mustard, some ketchup,
sesame
some
bourbon, the gold barbecue sauce. They had probably 25 different sauces.
The baked beans were elite. By the way, it's a NASCAR podcast. The baked beans were elite. Everything across the board was fantastic. So it's a shout out to our guys at Foreplay and the Barstool Classic. If you ever have the opportunity to play in it, it's well done. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Headlines is what I'm going to start off with. Hendrick Motorsports and Arrow McLaren will host a joint press conference at Charlotte Motor Speedway this afternoon. So we're taping on a Tuesday. It's going to happen at any second now. And they're going to announce that Kyle Larson has his intention to do that double thing again.
It's got to be that, right?
It's got to be. Yeah, it's no fucking... It's the worst kept... Everything with NASCAR I'm finding now is just about the worst kept secret.
That's one of those announcements where it's like you might as well just say it all, like rip the Band-Aid. You're doing an announcement to announce what we all kind of know, you know?
Yeah, I think they're doing it for McLaren, just so they can have some degree of pomp and circumstance. But it's a little bit premature for anybody to get excited about this. But how do you feel about it? Do you think this is the right call?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean,
no-brainer?
A no-brainer. I mean, there obviously was some turbulence with his participation in both races last year, but I'm encouraged by the fact that he's seemingly jumping headfirst into it right away in the very next year. I think maybe that leads me to believe that NASCAR and him have maybe found some resolution and how it can work for I don't know, but either way, even if there is penalties or associated headache like we saw this past year, I think it will be worthwhile. The juice is worth the squeeze. Larson drove his ass off in the small bits of the Indy 500 that we caught large from the from the Coke 600 we attended. But yeah, I think we're spoiled to see him racing both. So it's a win all the way around.
Yeah, I'm very glad he's doing it. He was pretty competitive in it last year, and I don't know. I hated how that whole situation played out, where NASCAR was all for it before, promoting the hell out of it, and then kind of villainized him for what he did with like the struggles of getting back to the race. And I'm glad he's like didn't let that become a thing where he's like, I'm not dealing with this again, and that he's going to go back and do it.
I'm opposite. Moonhead, how do you feel about it?
I like it. Surely it won't rain that much again. I mean,
it's going to pour that day.
I mean, that was like unprecedented how that played out. So I'm excited. I want to see him have a fair shot at it. I don't think it's something. If he gets his fair shot in, he should probably take a few years off and not risk any debacles like this year again. But you can't end on the way it went out this year.
Does anyone? It's just me.
Why don't you like it? Yeah, explain.
I'll tell you why. Lap 56, right around the end of stage 1, Kyle Larson gets loose, hits the wall, collects Chase Briscoe in it, and since the reconfiguration at Atlanta, Larson's average finish is around 30, and he's been involved in an accident in all 6 races. Not all of them are his fault, mechanical and whatnot. Maybe instead of that, he should do more sim work at Atlanta. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it's building up to. This is my fucking point. They cut his check. NASCAR Cup Series cuts his check. Don't fucking snowboard. Don't fucking snowboard. Don't run the fucking Indy 500. Don't run it. I think maybe just circle the wagons here and just try to make the Cup Series the best thing. And I don't think this fucking helps. I think it's better for IndyCar than it is for NASCAR. I'm on an island here. I don't know why. It doesn't move my fucking needle one single bit. The only reason I paid attention to it is because we were at Charlotte in the rain. Otherwise, I just don't give a fuck about it.
Well,
I'd rather see him race on Sunday. That's it. Honestly, that's it.
You don't kind of want to see if there's any truth to the whole argument that Larson said just a couple weeks ago that he's a better driver than Max Verstappen in general overall. To me, this is the closest thing we have for now, for the time being, to kind of see at least a little bit of Larson's skill set outside of, in other disciplines not named dirt racing. So I don't know.
It's an excellent fucking question. And once again, I'm being a little bit ignorant here. I get it. But let's say that Kyle Larson wins his second Cup Series championship this year, right? He's one of the favorites and all that stuff. Does he all of a sudden say, I did pretty well in the Indy 5? I'm going over to IndyCar. And then we lose a generational guy, probably one of the best guys to sit behind a fucking wheel. I don't know why. I get very protective of, the sport that, we are growing to love. And yeah. I guess I'm alone with it. Or maybe people just don't give a fuck. Like, it just happens. Maybe
I'm strongly team anti no gatekeeping NASCAR. I think that's one of the things that's holding NASCAR back to the masses. Is you have to be, a lifelong fan if you're going to watch the races, which is bullshit and nonsense. But I forgot where I was going with this point.
No, I was saying how it
your argument seems a little, it kind of reeks of gatekeeping. That's all.
Okay.
I just think it's cool because it's so rare. It's once a season max, and it's not something he's going to do every season. It's kind of...
He missed his job. He missed showing up for fucking work.
Where was this argument when Chase Briscoe was running SRX cars? When I don't know. That's one example.
When Alex Bowman was running fucking whatever and then, snapped his back, my argument was there. When Chase I understand, but we're talking about the absolute top echelon here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what we're doing. And I think that it's an unnecessary risk because
the discussion is definitely valid.
I hope it fucking pours. To be quite honest with you, at the beginning of the day, and I hope when it fucking pours, he makes the right decision this time and runs the Cup Series race. That's what I'm hoping.
I'll give one of my awful cross sport references here.
Go.
But it's kind of like if you were a massive Lakers fan and you're like, I don't want LeBron James to go to the Olympics. Like, he's old, he might get hurt. Like, he gets paid by the Lakers. He should put all his time and focus into being ready for the next season. Like, that's kind of how this is, where it's like, I don't know, the Olympics are like running in the Indy 500 is a cool thing that happens once in a while, and like enjoy it, even if it's not fully benefiting your team or your sport at that time.
I think, though, but there's two things with that argument, right? The Indy does run every year versus every 4 years.
Yeah, but he's not going to compete in it every year.
Right. The Olympics are bigger than the Indy 500. And I know this doesn't resonate with you.
I had patriotism. I know. I am a patriot.
You're not a fucking
He's a dual citizen.
That's the whole thing.
I don't. There's always a hole in my cross sport references, but there's aspects of that.
No, there's no apples to
resonate.
apples, so that's probably it. And again, I'm just being ignorant, but I just really think that the focus, I don't know. I thought this was bringing more eyes to NASCAR, I don't think they're getting the better part of this deal. And it's 100% evident with the way that shit went down this year, where he did one, he wasn't able to do the other, and I know God got in the way, but I don't know. I don't know why that steams my broccoli so much. Steams my broccoli.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Moon, do you feel anything? You feel strongly about it? You're on my side now or no?
No, not at all. I couldn't disagree more, to be honest. I feel like too, Larson, until he proves that like he can't handle doing it. I mean, he missed an entire race and only lost the regular season championship by a few points. So like that to me says that he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Like he's good enough that he can still compete for a championship or a regular season championship by just outright not showing up to a race. Granted, it wasn't his fault, but I think as long as he's able to do that, now if it comes next year and he's running 25th every week, I think, yeah, maybe they should reevaluate it. But as long as he's the same Kyle Larson come May of next year that he was May of this year, I don't see the issue with it.
Oh, yeah. And you think that's cool for the NASCAR fans, particularly that one old gentleman from Alaska. I never saw a fucking race. Huge Kyle Larson guy. Guy was diagnosed. He only had like 6 weeks to live. NASCAR flew him to Charlotte for that race. All he wanted to do was see Kyle Larson race before he died. He goes down there. Larson's not able to fucking do it. The guy died that night without his dying wish being fulfilled. All because, I got to get the fucking double-double. You think that's fair to NASCAR fans? It's cool for Indy guys. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
but we're okay with this.
Is that a real story?
No, I just made it up. But he just killed the guy from Alaska.
That's
like,
the,
you know what
the
I mean?
lady getting hit with the rugby ball.
You had me for a second.
That was her
how
husband.
The fuck did I miss that?
That was her husband, correct.
Lest we forget how bad NASCAR themselves fucked up that night.
Yeah.
Larson
that's true.
could have. Larson was there and could have raced if they had their shit together, and then they went scapegoat on Larson.
Exactly. Thank you, Quiggs. I think the Coke 600 was one of the biggest failures of the season, and I mean a lot of it was self-inflicted. They could have just.
Is this my worst argument of all time?
No, I get.
It's just
your
a weird
point,
hill
but
to
I just
die
don't
on.
agree.
And I am looking to die on it. I'm going to get off the hill in a little while, but I just thought I might have a little bit more traction with it. Thanks for supporting me, you fucking jerk-offs. Listen, second headline. I think Alex Bowman, we since he's been on the show and everything has been kind of cool and all that stuff is going around, he did something that often doesn't happen with NASCAR. Silly season and rumors float around. He went and he confronted Hendrick and said, "What's the deal? Am I in the car?" And they were like, "You're good." And I think nobody does that anymore. Like everyone thinks that they're going to get fired and they just wait to see when it hits the tape. Like, like all of a sudden when it's announced and stuff. I just wanted to give some kudos to Alex Bowman, who was like, I've been here before. I've had rumors before. So I just went to management and I asked them and they said, nope, my seat is safe. I'm assuming it's just for 2025. I don't know what he's got beyond that, but he's contracted through 2025. And then he went out and he had the best Hendrick finish this weekend at Atlanta, finishing P5. So kudos to him because I don't think you see that a lot. Instead, people just fucking kind of hang out in limbo for a while. After Atlanta, here's your playoff standings. Joey Logano with 1 win obviously goes through to around a 12. Blaney, I have them kind of written down here where everyone stands with the top 16. Who shit the bed this week? When you look down that list, who shit the bed? I crossed out the guys who shit the bed, and I underlined the guys who outperformed as far as I'm concerned. But who was the biggest standout? Who do you think was the biggest stud? We're not even getting into the race yet, but who you see did their job?
I think Suarez did his job. He would probably be my top guy. He almost defended his win we saw here in Atlanta earlier this year. I mean, a guy that I think we all had in our first 4 out last week of the playoffs. And, I mean, he had a P2 finish. He almost won the damn race. I think he was the one I was most impressed with. If there's a guy I would be disappointed with, and this is kind of tough love, it might be kind of extreme criticism, but Ty Gibbs. I mean, Ty Gibbs ran a hell of a race, and he was there late in position. Granted, that stupid sign fell on the track, and there was a caution for debris, but he finished 17th and is now, 1 point ahead of Keselowski for the 12th spot in the round of 12. And I think that looked like a race that I don't know, again, late in a race where I felt, is this going to be Ty Gibbs' week? And it didn't go his way. So I was a little bit disappointed with him. And that is with the context of you kind of crossing out guys that I would have mentioned as well. So I will.
No, you can mention. With the exception of Denny Hamlin, which is probably the biggest headline coming out of this race, right? Denny's thing, and we're going to break that down. I actually just listened to Actions Detrimental in the tunnel because I was stuck in the tunnel for a while. So he did give some sort of reasoning behind it. Whether or not it was a good explanation or not is up to everybody else.
Yeah, but he would be my biggest disappointment of the week. A plate track. Denny Hamlin is notorious for being up front at the plate tracks, and I don't know what the hell his strategy was this week. Hopefully you can speak to it, Large, or someone can enlighten me on what the hell was going on. But he seemingly rode around in the back and then never really made anything of it. So it just seemed like a kind of out of left field strategy from a guy that I typically expect to be dominant at tracks like this. So I really don't get it. And he seemingly set himself up all season to be one of the favorites to win the championship, something he's never done. And then he wants to go and try kind of bizarre strategy that I can't really comprehend or make sense of. So I don't get it. But Ty Gibbs, on the other hand, he kind of had a respectable strategy and was up front late and then still kind of didn't go his way. So that's why I was a little bit critical of him. But those guys I would be disappointed in. Kyle Larson, yeah, he crashed. It sucked. I don't know. Part of me feels like I forget where it was a couple weeks ago, he had a egregious wreck early in the race. I think he was 3 wide and he was in the middle and he just didn't need to do it. I just kind of pump the brakes on criticizing Larson when he's doing just crazy aggressive moves, especially when we see and I know this is kind of wildly different, like Chase Briscoe's crazy slingshot move to win the race yesterday. Right. If a driver's willing to do some crazy shit like that, I respect it. If Ross wants to ride the wall, if Larson wants to try to thread the needle, I'm here for it. That's what makes it exciting. I can't be too critical when it doesn't go their way, as much as I would have loved to see Larson win the race for the sake of my championship futures. But it was really the Gibbs guys, particularly Ty and Denny Hamlin, that disappointed me this week.
So with Chase's move, and I know we're going back a week with that, to secure a spot in the playoffs, if that didn't work out, right, and he collected a couple of people with him,
yeah,
would we have been hard on him? Because I don't think that move that he made would have looked like he was hooking somebody, even if that inadvertently had happened. Like he made an aggressive racing move. Does Chase get a little bit more of, forgiveness?
I speak for myself, but I think I wouldn't have been hard on him at all. Again, it's win and you're in playoff situation. The last regular season of the race, Chase had to do what he had to do, and he doesn't have a history of being a dirty driver. From my perspective, he's pretty well respected in the garage. He doesn't have a reputation of being the one to move a guy, and even if he were, I think the context of the race would make sense.
It would have been Kyle Busch that he would have hooked for that.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
There would have been controversy.
There would have been some. But I think to Spider's point, if Austin Dillon did it, they would have fucking nailed him to a cross.
I basically gave Austin Dillon a get out of jail free card. I was so easy on him. So Chase Briscoe,
saying the broader public would have fucking killed. No one's killing. I don't think anyone would have really have done. Although they're killing Chase a little bit for not avoiding Larson.
I was gonna say that because my unders were like ones that were already mentioned. I was gonna throw him in and be just maybe him, his spotter. I don't know. He probably shouldn't have been in that wreck. That was he had enough time to react and not be involved in that, and he was.
I'm going to put a pin in Denny and come back to it. Anything jump out at you? And I'm going to recap the race. Moon, anything that you jumped out at you or no?
No, I was going to agree with Quiggs. He got to that wreck a lot quicker than everybody around him. So somebody somewhere dropped the ball. I don't know, though, maybe the smoke, maybe it was an instance where he thought he had to shoot a gap or something. It's hard to say, but on TV, it definitely looked like he did the worst job out of anybody there.
It looks like he didn't have brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. The only thing that I'm going to kind of give an under to outside of what we just spoke about, I don't know when the printing press was invented, but it's been around for a while, like printed signs and whatnot. You got to find a way, if you're Walmart and you're NASCAR, to keep those things attached to whatever. We're too far gone now. We put a man on the moon. I got a computer in my pocket that we can't legitimately just put up a fucking sign that can withstand 38 cars going 180 miles by it so many times.
Tinfoil time.
Go.
Walmart bought shit signs. They intentionally had like the worst intern fasten them with the shittiest zip ties possible. They want this to happen. This is all orchestrated for more promo, more sponsorship, which drives NASCAR. Yeah, I don't know. The racing gods were like, Ty Gibbs, not so fast. Boom.
It felt like one of those, the Buffalo Wild Wings commercials where it's like the bartender's like, you guys want overtime? And then he clicks the button and the sprinklers pop out on the field and the ref trips.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Somehow it does happen far too frequently. I feel like I've seen this like 10, 15 plus times. Where
the sign fall?
Where a sign on the track, really, you disagree?
I don't know if it's having 15 plus.
We had a hat on the track last season, right? Remember that?
Maybe
NASCAR?
not like an above the track sign, which is what I think was in this instance, but like maybe like the wall, the banners falling apart, it's like stuff like that.
Road courses, it'll happen a lot.
I feel like
those
that's
tented.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't actually believe the conspiracy I just put forth, but it does happen far too frequently. I would have loved to see this race end under green, and I think Ty Gibbs might have won.
I don't really do with conspiracies either, but there's like something to like NASCAR just kind of getting some stuff to happen in the last 10 laps to get a caution.
Spider,
they're not, but they are.
You don't have to believe in something to talk about it on a podcast. I do it all the time. I like Carl Larson. I think it's great he's doing the Indy. But I will say, if you look at that sign was two-sided. So Walmart knew that no matter how it fell, they were still going to get the fucking free advertising.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
And look at us now. We're sitting here talking about them. Yeah. Walmart's a shit company. They should probably pay more, pay their employees more.
This segment is brought to you by Walmart, our new... Oh, okay.
I evened it out. They got a free ad, then they got a little punch in the face. So
they burned a lot of laps, though. Did y'all notice how many laps they burned picking the sign up?
But you see why? They had to go out and fucking take the other signs down.
Yeah, but I feel like, it's a cardboard sign or something. They just had to fold it up and rip the other one down. Like, I feel like NASCAR, anytime we get a late race yellow, they burn as many laps as possible to set up an overtime finish. Like, that is a fact. I don't care if they deny it. That's my hot take of the day. That is a fact. They intentionally burn laps to make sure it's a green, white checkered.
No, I think so.
Clip the shit out of that, right? I mean, we're tinfoil hatting the hell out of this, and I don't mind it. What about the person, so the guy who went up and took down that second sign, I don't believe that second sign was a Walmart sign, right? I think
it was something different.
So do those people get a little break? Because they paid to be advertising for a full race, and then all of a sudden they're not going to be advertising over the track during the time that almost everybody's going to fucking clip the race for overtime, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just paid for 4 hours of advertising, and they got 3 hours and 45 minutes right before the end of the movie. Fuck it.
They should get a little make good on that.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to go back to Denny in 2 seconds. Let's just talk about what else happened this weekend. Corey Heim pulls off what's now called a Parker Retzlaff, I guess, when he doesn't push fellow Toyota driver Chandler Smith from Joe Gibbs Racing on Saturday. Instead, he pushed Austin Hill, which probably gave him the best opportunity to be competitive in the rest of the race, even though Hill is an absolute beast on plate tracks. But what I like about Corey Heim, I like a lot of things about Corey Heim, but what the tweet he sent out afterwards. Parker Retzlaff had gotten so much shit And then Corey Heim puts the tweet out, had an opportunity to win today. It didn't work out. Thank you, Sam Hunt Racing, for having me on board. Had fun today. Hashtag Team Toyota. I think that sort of is either him tongue-in-cheek being like, before you come at me, I'm still Team Toyota. But either way, I hope this kid doesn't have to eat a ton of shit for it. I don't think he will. It seems like that Parker Retzlaff thing was a little bit more in a vacuum. Nobody has any problems with that, do they?
No, I kind of disagree though, Large.
Okay.
I mean,
shit, we're contentious today.
Yeah, I only think that because I feel like Joe Gibbs Racing might have a little bit of pettiness in them too. We were quick to shit on Richard Childress Racing for taking issue with what Parker Retzlaff did, or didn't do, I should say. But Joe Gibbs, from what I understand, I heard a little rumor that Ty Gibbs and Corey Heim are not the best of friends. And now you see Corey Heim, who's seemingly loyal to Toyota and seemingly one of the best prospects, the favorite to win the Truck Series championship, I think, or if not very close second favorite. And he seems to be maybe kind of burning a bridge with Joe Gibbs. There was already beef that I was privy to prior to this, and now he's not helping push a teammate. Now, personally, I'm of the opinion you go out and you race for yourself. It's about Corey Heim trying to win the race. Forget about Chandler Smith or whatever teammate alliance there late at the end of the race. It's every man for himself. However, I disagree with you when you say I think he'll get away with just a little slap on the wrist or whatever it was. I think this might be this combined with whatever existing beef I'm not necessarily 100% privy to with Ty Gibbs might prevent Corey Heim from obtaining any potential Joe Gibbs Racing ride. I don't know. That's my personal opinion.
But don't you think what we had said about what happened to Parker was extremely petty? Don't you think even there's a certain degree? If you watch the replay on this at the end of the race, it was the right lane choice, and it was the right racing decision to make in order to be competitive in that race. And then Austin put him in the wall, right? Like that's how Austin had thanked him. So it didn't work out that well for the kid, but still, I think undoubtedly from a racing standpoint, he did the right thing, even without any kind of hidden vendettas.
It just seems like he's limiting his future opportunities because, I don't know, 2311 seems like the only suitable Toyota ride for him, given that I think he won't go to Joe Gibbs Racing. And, I mean, I'll defer to Quiggs on the state of Legacy Motor Club with their Toyotas. So,
bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
So just before we got on the air, Quiggs had sent us, he dug out of the archives, our preseason predictions or our very early season predictions from the first show of what we were expecting to see this year across all the series, actually. And we didn't get a ton of them right. So we're going to break those down as we get deeper into the playoffs. But just so you know, not a ton of them were right, except for one of them that Quiggs had said. And he's going to be extremely happy.
You had some good ones.
I had some okay
maybe
ones,
one.
Yeah. By the way, I had Logano this week. No big deal.
Really?
Yeah, I had Logano.
Wow.
But either way, so that's going to be coming down. Staying with Xfinity, though, Austin Hill sweeps the Xfinity races at Atlanta in 2024, his home track. 7 of Austin Hill's 9 career victories have come at racetracks using the Superspeedway comp package. Is Austin Hill the SVG of Superspeedways?
I mean, it's a lot of dominance on that type of track.
I think
it's harder to do. Like super speedways have such a factor of randomness that road courses are kind of easy to dominate because it's a lot more just people falling in line kind of at their skill level. That's so impressive.
I think it's a combination of things, not to discredit Austin Hill, who's obviously a great plate track driver, but I've long said that RCR does a great job at these tracks in specific. And I think if you look at, Austin Dillon or Jesse Love or even Kyle Busch, whether it be at Atlanta this weekend or Talladega last year or whatever, RCR has a great thing going on plate tracks. I don't know specifically what it is. That's a question for the engineers. But whatever it is, they have a good formula. So I think it's a great driver combined with that kind of makes me feel yucky to say. It's a good
Yucky.
driver combined with a good equipment, at least at that particular style of track. So
you're spreading the kudos a little bit,
Right.
But so
Right.
where are you, Moonhead, on this? So Spider's saying it's more takes a village type thing to be this successful, particularly in this type of track. Whereas Quiggs had said plain as day, Austin Hill is a better driver than SVG. Where do you stand as far as that goes?
I don't know. I mean, Austin Hill is an elite plate racer for sure. Now, I think I don't know that he's better overall than SVG. We haven't really seen him have crazy success elsewhere. I know he's won some races here and there, but there's no denying. I mean, he's the best plate racer in the field for sure. Any given Xfinity race, I feel like you're either betting on him or betting on the field crashing him, or him getting himself in trouble throwing some insane sort of blocks. So I don't know. I'd like to see him. I know he's had some races in Cup, but I'd like to see him continue running some of these one-off Cup starts and see how he can stack up in the next gen on the plate tracks as well.
I put words in Quiggs' mouth about the SVG thing, but I'm going to ask you, Quiggs. You think Austin Hill would do as well, towards Moon's point, if he was to run these plate tracks in Cup? Because SVG dominates Cup guys at road courses. That's just the way that it is.
If the question is basically who is better at their specialty when they move up to the Cup Series and the highest level, I think it's SVG.
Yeah,
easily. I don't think Austin Hill's going to be dominating and winning every super speedway. I think if he's in good equipment, he could definitely get some wins on super speedways against some of these Cup drivers. But I think from a standpoint of dominance, SVG has a way better chance of being dominant on the road courses.
I think we've already kind of seen how it's went. SVG won in his debut in a Cup car. Austin Hill has participated in at least 2 plate Cup races, if I'm not mistaken. And we're sitting here talking about Parker Retzloff, Harrison Burton. Not a knock on him, Justin Haley, and he hasn't been one of the long shot guys in these Cup races, whereas SVG was that long shot guy and won in his first race. So if the question is who's better at their respective specialty, I'm with Quiggs. I think SVG is a better road racer than Austin Hill is a better plate racer.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take it. McDowell is very good at qualifying on plate tracks. McDowell started on the pole. It was his 5th of the season, his 2nd in Atlanta, and 4th straight on a super speedway. All 5 of McDowell's career poles have come this year. So this is more of I'm looking for automatics, I guess. I'm looking for automatics with, particularly in the betting world. Like if betting qualifying at a super speedway, you have to throw some money now on McDowell, right? Yeah. Betting super speedways in Xfinity, it's automatic that you bet Austin Hill. Betting super speedways in Cup, it's automatic, particularly in Atlanta, that you don't bet Kyle Larson, right? I mean, that's what the tea leaves are telling us. Suarez record at Atlanta in the past 6 races. He's been 4th, 29th, 1st, 6th, 2nd, and 2nd. He's an automatic going forward, right? If he hasn't been already, I don't know if anyone had him on their cards.
I added him live. I got him live 14-1 when he was running top 5, which I thought I would totally do again.
Yeah.
And we need to start asking is Daniel Suarez becoming a plate track driver? That's crazy. That's a crazy stat line you just read, Large.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing here, right? Like SVG is an automatic on road courses, right? It seems like we're pulling this out from. We talk to people all the time about how much fun it is betting NASCAR. Honestly, it's my favorite sport to just throw a couple of bucks on here and there because I think the odds make it extremely, extremely interesting, right?
Yep.
And potentially profitable. Not for me though. And we talk about super speedways in particular about how anyone can win. And that's why you don't see those 3-1 favorites when we go to super speedways. But I am putting together some guys that I think are just automatic, at least top 5s, right? Going forward. Can somebody put a pin in this? That way I remember to do that next time we go to a super speedway because I'm going to forget as soon as I close this fucking laptop. What do you guys think about the actual race? 24 lead changes with 14 drivers. It's pretty good. What did you think about the actual race down in Atlanta this weekend? Give me your reflections, Large. Excuse me, Spider. I'm Large.
I thought it was great. I mean, another exciting plate track. And obviously, I mean, I kind of gave myself a little trigger warning before the race started. I was like, you have to be realistic with expectations. The Atlanta race earlier this year was one of the best we've seen this season. Don't expect it to be that again. And it wasn't, but I still think it was very, very good race. As you mentioned, a bunch of lead changes. There were 10 different guys I felt like could have won this race at any given time. I was watching religiously to try to figure out what the hell was Denny doing. And then at the end there, I was pulling for Ty Gibbs to maybe shock the world and get his first Cup Series victory. So top to bottom, I was pretty entertained and satisfied with the race we saw. And yeah, not many complaints, if at all.
I think it
was.
I'll give it an 8.5.
8.5. Spider.
But I think. Oh wait, you give your score.
Yeah, I would give it like an 8. An 8.
Okay. Go ahead, Quiggs. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I think Atlanta is maybe the best track on the schedule. Like, I think just it can consistently provide a really, really good race. And I don't know. I don't know if that's a bold statement, but I love Atlanta.
I mean,
agree.
It's not a bold statement if you're looking at this season, right? It gave us the closest finish in history, and then put together this.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching the end of this race. I can't wait to talk about it. But so 8.5. I'm putting that in the book. 8 for Spider. Moonhead, what you give this race 1 to 10?
I'm gonna do 7-7.
It's very tough, isn't he, Moonhead?
Yeah.
I don't think you should have kids. Like, honestly, I don't know if you have any, but I don't. You know,
No,
what I mean?
I
I went to my
don't. Not that I know of.
went to my daughter's first tennis match yesterday. I don't even know how to keep score, and I was very, very. She's not good yet. I was very, very supportive, and I don't see that out of you, Moonhead. I think you're more, I don't know, not physically but mentally abusive to people. It's tough. You guys see that? You get that vibe off them?
Yeah. Well, let's hear them out.
So
What's
7.7.
the?
Go ahead.
I feel like that's a solid score. I mean,
That is.
that's that's what. Well, I'm not good at math, but that's not far away from 10. You got to leave because, like, to me, there's a lot there's a lot of good races that have happened that were better than that one, and I feel like those races would fall in the 8s and the 9s. Obviously, I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect race, but I think 7-7 solid. I mean, if the spring one fell somewhere in the 8s, probably the high 8s. I feel like that one should be a high 7 because it was just a step behind what we saw earlier in the year.
That's a salient argument. I'm going to give it a 7.8, just so I'm not the low man. You know what I mean? So I'm not going out on the thing. Let's talk about Denny then right away. What the fuck happened? Like, from your perspective, as you're watching the race, and Spider, you see this guy pulling back. I know you already commented that you were kind of confused throughout it. Quiggs, did you have an idea necessarily of? Denny could have blamed this on the car, by the way. Like, Denny could have gone on actions detrimental today and just said, and he did say that it wasn't handling that well and whatnot, but he said he took 100% responsibility. Crew chief and all that, he took 100% responsibility on how he had raced down in Atlanta. And we have the luxury of being Monday morning quarterbacks. How bad of a fuck up is this for a playoff driver to like Kyle Petty had tore into him because Denny afterwards had said, I was looking for a 20-point day. He said, that's ridiculous. You have to race for the win all the time and whatnot. Spider had pointed out how Denny has been a great super speedway driver because he's won Daytona 500 3 times. It's pretty good on a resume. In the next gen car, I'm not sure how he's done across the board on super speedways, but something had him certainly spooked to where he just didn't want to get, he wanted to finish the race. And instead, right at the end of the race, he winds up getting collected in a crash as well. So what was your take on that for a guy that we, have a lot of respect for? And by the way, I did listen to Actions Detrimental, as I had said, and the guy who hosts it with him, what's his name, Spider? Is it Jared?
Yeah, Jared.
Man, he does a great job with Denny. That guy, we had met him at the mini golf thing, and I've seen him a couple other times. Does a great job. Because Denny's a big personality and obviously big ego and stuff like that. He does a really good job with it. What did you guys think? I know you'd said, Spider, that it confused the shit out of you. not confused. Everyone was kind of confused by it. What did you think about, how that happened? How do you think that he goes forward now? When we see Talladega further down in the schedule, does he also try and play it safe? Did he just, I don't know, watch Moneyball and decide that this was more of a numbers game than a racing game? How do you feel about it?
I think he just runs how he's been running the earlier in the season. Like, I don't think he should try a different strategy now as the playoffs started. He seemed to be competitive at a wide array of tracks, especially as you mentioned, Talladega's upcoming. And despite what we saw on Sunday, he is typically a pretty good plate track driver. So I think that's a good opportunity for him. I think he should playing it smart is not whatever strategy we saw on Sunday, in my opinion. Maybe that's easy to say now as a Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
But playing it smart for Denny Hamlin would be doing what you proved of us you can do the last decade, the last 30 races. And that is just being competitive at a wide variety of tracks. And I think that is what he kind of should have done. Maybe just tried to be the normal Denny Hamlin we've seen the rest of the season. That's put him in this position to be one of the favorites to win the trophy. I think if he keeps trying different strategies, fuck that phone, he might find himself in the same position that Denny Hamlin has found himself in years past as he's been in pursuit of his championship. So, I don't know. Back to basics for Denny. Right. You are that guy. Just do what we know you can do is my kind of MO. I don't see why we change it up.
I just think it was bad strategy. Like, I don't know I don't know if he said he was trying to play it smart, but I just don't think it's smart. It's bad playoff strategy to where stage points and all that are very important. And if you're giving those up to still be alive at the end of the race, that's when a lot of those, like on a plate track, the time when you're like, all right, I need to start moving up towards the front is when most of those races most of those crashes that'll cause you to be out of the race happen. So it's like you're denying yourself stage points, and then your chance of being out of the race isn't going to be diminished that much, because when you're actually trying to get up and move and get to the front of the pack is when the wrecks are going to happen. So I don't know. I just think very bad strategy call if it was a real strategy by them to like hang back and then go, rather than like his car just wasn't it that day.
I know we're sort of, we don't have the historical perspective that some do. No one else did it. Ryan Blaney at the end, again, Ryan Blaney, an expertly run race with all the shit that he went through at Atlanta. But it said, I could have went 3 wide there at the end, but I know that we were having a good points day, so I didn't even chance it. And that's totally different. Like, he made a racing call in the moment. Denny had made a call before the race almost, particularly when he started at the back of the field, that he wasn't going to take any chances and he was going to try and get around 20 points. Does that happen a lot? Because, or is it because Denny Hamlin did it that it's a big headline this week? Moon, does it happen a lot that people sort of play defense like that in a super speedway when you've had multiple super speedway wins?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen guys back in the day before the like bracket 16-man, or not bracket, but before the 16-man playoffs, Talladega every year would fall, I guess, around the same time it does this year. And every year there'd be, if it was one of those races that never had like the big wreck or whatever at the end, there'd always be those guys who, after the race, you'd be like, damn, like they lost a shitload of points today just riding around in the back. And I feel like Denny, it's no different. I mean, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks it's a little weird that he's throwing a fit about the charters and all that, and then suddenly his car's 2 seconds slower than everybody else's. But he seems to say it was strategy or whatever, bad handling race car. So I guess I believe him on that. But it's not unprecedented. And I think he'll be fine, but it's not an ideal situation, only being, what is he, 2 above the cut line now? So yeah, I don't know.
He fucked himself. One thing that Jared did not ask him is how much regret he has. And, maybe he'd said not to ask it beforehand, but I'm sure he's kicking himself. I don't think we're going to see that out of Denny Hamlin again. And by the way, you look at Watkins Glen, we're going to be running this new tire package. Anything could fucking happen there. Like, let's say Denny gets caught up in something at Watkins Glen, doesn't finish that race, and now all of a sudden you're going into third. I mean, I don't know. I'm worried for the big man. So, moving on. Let's talk about who won. Joey Logano. Joey led only 9 laps in that race, pulled off his 34th win of his career. He's now tied for 25th on the all-time win column with Marty Truex and Kurt Busch. So congratulations to the 22 team. But what I loved at the end of the race, and I think NBC, or USA rather, did a very good job at this, that whole thing explaining to the common race fan, like the common man, about how important it is to have a teammate behind you. Because the way that lined up with Logano, Blaney, and Suarez, Chastain, and you got to see just how better Blaney is at pushing a teammate. I know different lanes and whatnot, but Blaney, I thought, did a very masterful job. Joey was very good as far as thanking him at the end, and now Joey Logano is moving on to the round of 12. The booth had made a comparison where Kyle Petty was very, very complimentary to Dale Jarrett and said, if you needed a big race won back in the day, the guy I'm sitting next to, DJ, was the guy to win it. Joey Logano is the modern day Dale Jarrett. Is that a fair comparison? I liked it when the guy said that. I don't know how true it is or not, but he's the Dale Jarrett of our generation.
I'm not the guy to ask here.
Yeah, I would defer to
That's pre
Moonhead.
my NASCAR fan.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't know really what he meant by that. To be honest, when I think of Dale Jarrett, I don't think of Joey Logano.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a one-to. I like when he said that because he really was puffing up his guy in the booth. You know what I mean? Like, this was the fucking dude, and now this is the dude. So I could see, and maybe if Lee Diffie said it, everyone would have thought it was cooler because it would have been said in a cooler accent. I just thought that it was nice that they had given him. Did you have any criticisms of the broadcast this week? Are we starting to come down a little bit on it, or is it still absolutely A+ game from these guys?
I'm
love it.
still holding my opinion of just I think it's a great booth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the best thing that we've seen so far since we started doing the show 2 years ago, right? I think we had that consistency now with the broadcast. I hope it doesn't get fucked up next year as we start to jump around to all these different channels and stuff. All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to move on from Atlanta. We're going to go on to the second round. Before we do, I'm just going to hand out the Nobody's Cooler, brought to you by Arctic Coolers, which are in Walmarts, and you can go to arcticoutdoors.com, pick up all of their coolers, all their insulated drinkware, because they're elite. Nobody's Cooler, I'm going to give, I don't know, you know how I get weird with charities and stuff like that, so I'm going to give it a tie. The NASCAR Foundation and Kaulig are celebrating this National Teddy Bear Day by joining together and deliver 4,000 teddy bears to children in 110 hospitals across North America for the 8th annual Speedy Bear Brigade. Speedy Bears has delivered more than 15,000 sick kids teddy bears since the program's inception in 2016, providing comfort to children during their hospital stays. I don't know, man. I don't know. It just touches me when we do that. And then on top of that, Chase Elliott, we didn't mention in last week's show because we didn't have the paint schemes at the time. For the 8th straight year, he drove that car and wore a driver's suit that was designed by 2 child cancer patients at the Children's Healthcare at Atlanta. So big kudos. Nobody's cooler than Kaulig getting together with NASCAR to give away teddy bears to sick kids. I mean, there couldn't be anything better than that, except for Chase Elliott, who's also doing his part, and he has these sick kids designing the car, just bringing some sort of recognition to it. So kudos to those guys, and nobody's cooler than them. We're going to Watkins Glen this week. I toyed around with the idea of maybe driving up for the race. New York is a big state, Spider. I don't know if you knew about that.
Yep.
Watkins Glen is a 5-hour drive from me.
Yeah.
I think it's a 5.5 hour drive for me. You have a better chance of seeing fucking God than me going to Watkins Glen this weekend. Have you ever been up there? Has anyone been to Watkins Glen? It seems like something that I have to. Well, how is it? What's the atmosphere?
It's badass. It's a party, actually. Like, there's so many campers out through there that it gets pretty wild. I didn't stay really late into the night, so I don't know how rowdy it gets, but I've heard some stories. And it's a beautiful area. Like the little town of Watkins Glen and the lakes and all that. And then I stayed up in, I think it was Ithaca, which was a pretty different from where I'm from, but it was a cool town. There's some good food up there at least.
Yeah,
Sure.
New York is massive. It's massive. I used to drive from like Western all the way, like only in New York to Connecticut, so drive all the way through. But Watkins Glen has long been a race I've wanted to go to. It just seems very cool, especially given the context that Moon had provided. But 5 hours
to go up
know.
and back. I want to go
Yeah.
there next year with you, with NASCAR, to do a whole deal where we can do a full weekend. Maybe see some foliage. But I don't know if it's I thought it might be an up and back race. Like Pocono, I could legitimately go up and back for when we Watkins Glen. I did have a kid I used to coach in basketball. Played soccer with my son. I coached him in hoops too. He's a NASCAR fan now. Listens to the show every week. His name is Tim. And he goes to Syracuse. So he's like, it's a stone's throw. So
Yep.
our boy Patrick is hooking him up with some with some passes for this
Oh,
weekend.
nice.
So yeah, we'll put that on the list. So it's a double header at Watkins Glen. No trucks this weekend. Starting 9:14 with the Mission 200 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on USA. Mission makes some of the best flour tortillas around. Then on Sunday we get race 2 of 10 in the playoffs and race 2 of 3 in the round of 16 with the Go Bowling at the Glen, also starting at 3 p.m. on USA. It's one of 5 road courses on the schedule in 2024, just under 2.5 miles. It's different from Indy because of the elevation changes. I'm going to talk a lot about going through the S's once you start watching this. 90 laps, 220 miles, stage breaks at 20 at lap 40, and checkered at 90. The 22 winner was Kyle Larson. Byron won in 23. Henrik has won the last 5 of these. Just something to keep in mind when we're about to make our picks. Tony Stewart leads the Cup Series and wins at Watkins Glen with 5. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch lead all active NASCAR Cup Series drivers with 2 victories apiece up there. AJ Allmendinger and Chase Elliott both had their first win at Watkins Glen. Chase was the track's youngest Cup winner at only 22 years old. And most importantly, a guy we spoke about a couple of weeks ago when this was announced, Juan Pablo Montoya will be driving the number 50 Mobil 1 Toyota Camry in the third and final event for this number 50 Camry to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Mobil 1 brand. He won there in 2010, making him the first foreign-born driver to win multiple NASCAR Cup races. I'm very excited to watch Juan Pablo drive. You guys with me with this thing? I think it's, we're in the middle of the playoffs. One of the things that I sort of criticized the broadcast with is that sidebar where they show the leaderboard, right? They dedicated a lot of it to just the playoff drivers. You saw the top 5, and then they just kind of kept the 16 playoff drivers in there, where I felt the first race of the season, I was more into the race than the playoff race at the time. So I kind of wanted to see 10 through 38, or 5 through 38, a lot more than they had shown. Just a personal type thing. But this one, we're really going to be concentrating on the group of 16 and who's going to go through to the round of 12. So with that, we're going to make some picks. We're going to make some picks for the Glen, and it's brought to you by DraftKings. TD, taking it to the house, in for 6. Whatever you call a touchdown, one thing's for sure, touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, from the special teams or defense, we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is the number 1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your bet today. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook and use the code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. So I'm saying sign up for DraftKings, use the code Rubbin, bet $5 on anything. You don't necessarily have to do the touchdown thing, but it's an awesome promotion that they're doing. You can bet on Watkins Glen. You get $250 in bonus bets for new signups. And that's it. So we're going into the Glen. Who do you guys like going into this thing? Who'd like to go first? I have some ideas. If you want me to go first, I don't care.
I can be quick and easy. I got one winner. And it's my guy. I talk about him all the time, say how good he is. I'm going with SVG, a non-playoff driver, guy just going to be out there racing, and I think he's going to be the best in the field. So SVG is my winner, plus 750, I think.
7-1 right now.
Yeah.
Plus 700. My only pick of the week.
I don't hate that, Quigs. I'm going to go off something Large said, and that's that Hendrick Motorsport is what you said won the last 5 races here.
Yes. Yeah.
The last 3 have been won by Kyle Larson and William Byron, and those are going to be my 2 picks. This is a crucial point in the playoffs. I have championship futures on both those drivers, and I think either one of them can get it done here this week. I would love for it to be William Byron, selfishly, if I'm allowed to get greedy with it, only because I would like to see him kind of come all the way back into championship contention, and I think he could do just that with a win here. Whereas Larson, I feel like, will always kind of be a favorite for championship contention. So I'm going with those 2 guys. I expect Hendrick to be really strong here. I'm not going to add him to my card, but the other guys I was intrigued by were Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott. Tyler Reddick here has 3 top 5s, or excuse me.
That's my guy. Don't fucking take my pick.
Well, let me correct my stat first, and you can have him, because he does not have 3 top 5s in his last 3 races here. He has 3 top 10s in his last 3 races here. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with just Larson and Byron this week. And outside of that, I kind of like Chase Elliott a little bit, but I'm not gonna take him.
No, I might take Chase, but I was actually thinking of taking SVJ. I don't know why I'm abandoning my patriotism, but I'm going to take Reddick, because Reddick, Suarez, and Cindric were the guys that tested this new tire at Watkins Glen. Like, those are the 3 names. And out of those, I think tires are going to be, the most important part of this race. So I'm going to take Tyler Reddick, and he's short money. He's, where is he right now? He's plus 900. I like that. So I might do both of those, like 2 plus 900. So I'm going to take Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott, just because Chase is a 2-time champion here. And he was the only Hendrick guy left on the board. So I'll go Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott to win, and probably add some top 10s as the week goes on. Moon, anything special that you see jumping out at you this week?
I've scrolled down, and I like Logano this week for 2 reasons. One, he won, so he can be the most aggressive out of anybody there and seemingly have no consequences. And going back to your point with the tire thing, I feel like experience might outweigh some of the favorites here. And I feel like Logano is going to be a guy who's going to take care of his tires and probably be there at the end. He also could win a shitload of money if he won the race. So I'm going to pick him. I think he's going to be my guy.
All right, so then Spiders, Kyle Larson, William Byron. I'm grabbing Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott. Quiggs is on Shane Van Giesbergen right now. We're going to add a couple to it, and then you're for this generation's Dale Jarrett. So that's what we got for picks this week going into Watkins Glen. That's it. And anybody else have anything to plug before we jump out of there? We're still doing Moon Car on Mondays and shit like that.
Yeah, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
Where do people find that? I ask you all the time.
Yeah, twitch.tv/Moonhead.
Cool. And Spider, do you have those sim things up and running? Are you doing it?
Yeah, we got one fully up and running, and I think the great people at iRacing, from what I understand, are going to have us with a second account by the end of the day today. So I guess shout out to my guy Otto at iRacing, who's hooking it up. So hopefully we can have 2 entries into the Moon Car races at some point. I know Chef Donnie has been he's like my young apprentice over there. I'm trying to teach him iRacing basics and whatnot. So who knows? Maybe I've been toying with the idea of starting the Barstool iRacing League back up. I don't know if that would be of interest to anyone, but yeah, maybe there's definitely some iRacing stuff coming very soon, just not sure what. But in the meantime, make sure you're watching or racing in Moon Car.
Spider,
I'll plug.
Go, please.
I was gonna plug.
First of all,
Barstool.
we're blessed to have. I'm gonna overdo it. We're blessed to have Quiggs back. Sports Advisors is one of the things that you're working hard on. Wild fucking episode.
That was so funny.
With Stu Feiner. If you don't know who Stu Feiner is, shame on you. And if you don't know who Stu Feiner's dead dad is, shame on you also. Some wild shit that's going on that. And part of the team that puts a tent over that fucking circus is Sean. So tune into that, right? Because that's blood, sweat, and tears for you, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of time. It'll lead to me probably missing a few episodes of this. So I'll be hit or miss just because football season is crazy for me. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Comes out every Friday at 6, and it's a great, whether you even bet or watch the NFL, it's almost not even about that. So check it out. It's a very fun show.
Yeah, and I'm leaving for Vegas in a couple of hours. I'm going to be boots on the ground for Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. I'm going to be doing some shit with DAZN, and we'll be blasting some stuff out on Barstool Boxing. So big weekend of fights. I think Robbie might also be out in Vegas because the UFC event is in the Sphere, and people are losing their minds over it, even though it's just a fucking glorified planetarium. But we're going to be out in Vegas covering all the fights, so stay tuned for that. And otherwise, that's it. That's it for Rubbin is Racing. Our next scheduled race is still Miami, so we have a little bit of time before we're back at the track. But we'll see you guys next week on Rubbin is Racing.